Your nose on one.
Sorry, it stopped, so I've started up again. I will have the links in. I don't know when it stopped streaming. And I do believe it's about ports, and I am going to work on that and get someone to help me figure it out. I have lots of different opinions. But as people fight back, if you saw that, I don't know what you saw, hopefully you saw the lady interrupt Wells Fargo in San Francisco at their investor meeting. And this is the point. She qualifies for a loan mod. They're going to take the house. So now we've got 13 people arrested in an anti-foreclosure protest at Wells Fargo. This is in Minnesota. This is a march of about 200 people organized by Neighborhoods Organizing for Change and allies from faith and labor communities. And the fact is, the people have to start sharing, marching, joining together. We have to just keep spreading the word and keep focused on putting the onus where it belongs, right back on the banks, both in the courts, in the communities, and in the political persuasion. We need to tell our legislators, we need to send them this information. Not too surprisingly, Wells Fargo takes their annual meeting now to Salt Lake City. San Francisco's getting too hot for them. And that's a good sign. Keep up the good work. They call it a circus-like atmosphere. The fact of the matter is, there is an extreme diversity, as we all know, between the haves and the have-nots, and the haves are just taking it from everyone, and the haves are led by the banks. That's exactly the plan. And we know it's been in place for a long time. I just wanted to bring this to your attention. This is another outrage. Here, in this case, Wells Fargo made a mistake on the address, and they claimed that this guy hadn't paid his taxes, so they doubled his mortgage. It was an error, and eventually Wells Fargo got it straightened out, which is pretty amazing. However, they would not reinstate the gentleman. Even though he'd never been late, they wouldn't give him his normal mortgage payment. They wouldn't clear the situation as appropriate. They required him, due to no mistake of his own, to pay this huge restitution fees to get back in being current. Unfortunately, he died on his way to court over this. And this is the outrage. So another one bites the dust with foreclosure crisis. This is truly an outrage. We just must continue the effort. This is a report put out by ACE about California in crisis, how Wells Fargo foreclosure pipeline is damaging the communities, and it's going to damage everywhere. And let's never forget, even though in the Bay Area, for example, in California, prices are starting to rise, they may be rising in many areas in the country. Don't ever, ever, ever forget, right now, Fannie and Freddie and the banks have millions of vacant homes sitting. They can dump them at any time, and they can ruin communities. They can sell them off to hedge funds for their personal gain and our personal losses. It's truly not right. Here's some more action. These community members move a disabled senior back into the home. And so they've been fighting and fighting to keep this family, a senior, in her home. This is in Atlanta, Georgia. And a coalition, they've been in court. It's all over a $70,000 mortgage with Countrywide. And today, they moved him back and said, here, take that. And I really believe people are going to have to reoccupy their homes. That's something to think about. What would happen if we did that? So let's find out what else is going on around the country. I've got a person from no picture, but I've got somebody that would like to share what's been happening for them and keeping their home. Yanel, this is CJ. You're on the air.
Okay, hello. How are you?
Fine. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Yeah, my name is Danielle Hernandez.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you'd like to share today.
Well, First, I want to thank you so much for all your help. Um, we've been going through this process, the foreclosure process, uh, with the sale of the house. And I remember when we contacted you the first time was like probably we have only 1 week left for the sale of the property. So
Right.
I didn't know what else to do because we've been holding it, and it was, I don't know, I think something God put in probably in our minds to find you because um, you help us a lot to find all the fraudulent things in the property, all the things that the bank did to go to foreclosure.
Yes.
And, well, here we are right now. We stopped the sale. The sale was for March, I guess the March 18 or 15, I think. Yeah, 15 it was. And even one night before, the house was still for sale. But the next morning, we stopped the sale. They said we have, well, 1 month more to do it. I mean, because they're investigating right now because we sent the OCC complaint, like you said.
Right.
We send also the QWR letters,
Yes.
qualified written request.
Good for you. Yes.
Yeah, we send everything by fax, by email, by also next day delivery to the legal department, the foreclosure legal department. This is for Chase.
Yes.
So, yeah, we did everything you recommended, and I'm so glad that we did.
I am too. I am so pleased. And you're not the only one that gets these kinds of successes. And this is why we keep telling people, please, just at least try these efforts and try them. Now, I know you probably have another auction date coming up, right? Next month?
Yeah, next month. They
All
gave
right.
us one month more, yeah.
Right. And so you keep fighting. You keep sending the notice to the foreclosure trustee to tell them you have more time. You have to, the OCC complaint is still open. They cannot foreclose with an open OCC complaint. A lot of times, people, the entities that are foreclosing will continue to do so if they think they can get away with it. So if you keep telling them you know better and you're going to hold them accountable for that, then you can, it's a battle. You can stop them and keep stopping them. So we so thank you for getting on the phone and sharing with us today. And please
Thank you so much.
keep us informed, and please share this with all of your neighbors. If this works,
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
for everyone.
Sure, yeah. Actually, I'm about to refer you with this girl. She is about to lose her house too the next month.
Yes.
And she's been fighting to like me, and yeah, definitely I'm gonna go ahead and work with her.
Perfect.
We can also try to find all the fraudulent things that the banks do all the time.
Exactly. I really do believe that when the person filing the OCC complaint or the qualified written request letter has proof of the fraud in the recorded documents, they don't know how to handle that. And I do believe that gives more clout to stopping that foreclosure process, because especially in California and already in several other states, they can only foreclose based on true and accurate documents. And so when you send them or show them that the document is not true and valid or accurate, that it's forged and fake, they actually have liability now. And actually, this is one of the things I'm working on with others. If as owners can postpone the auctions long enough for others to figure out what I would call a boilerplate lawsuit to go into court to collect these damages, then I think the people are really going to be able to rise up, because that will stop it, and they will get money for the damages for how they've been harmed, because everybody that's been facing foreclosure has been harmed. So, Yanel,
that's what that's
yes.
what we think actually. And yeah, I'm so glad that we find you, CJ. You've been so much help to us, and of course, yeah, I'm gonna spread the words and
Thank you.
pass it on.
Thank you, and say hi to your uncle for us. I know that his English isn't as good as yours, and we thank you so much for sharing for everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
you
thank you so much. Yeah,
you bet.
I really appreciate what you did for us, and we keep in touch.
Okay, absolutely. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.
You too. Bye. So, you see, it does pay. Action does pay, and she's now going to share it. And the fact is, successes breed success. These are the ways that we can continue to reach out to others. So, I believe we've got another person to share with us. Let's check the phone. Hi, Marilyn. This is CJ. Is this Marilyn?
Yes, this is Shay.
Thank you so much for joining us. And we just heard from Yanel. They've just postponed their auction by using the OCC letter and the qualified written request. You are evidently in court, and you work with a lot of other people. I've got your picture and information up here on the screen, and then I will be showing your website too as you speak. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Oh, and by the way, I've got her email already linked at the Homeowners for Justice on the director's page for New Jersey. So welcome to the show, Marilyn. Share with us what's going on in your area.
Well, I think we're number one in foreclosures now, and our governor is doing absolutely nothing, and our AG is doing absolutely nothing. And getting into court is very difficult in Jersey. I'm having a much better time in Maine.
Really?
And I'll tell you about my situation in New Jersey. I just filed a quiet title action that was, if it wasn't so serious, it would be laughable. When I did my QWR letter in New Jersey, I asked for information. I received a condo. My house is a single-family home, and when I wanted to modify, I just asked for my 15-year to become a 30-year. That's all I asked for. No principal reduction, no interest rate reduction, no nothing. They told me I had to be 3 months late on my mortgage, which I found out is not true.
Absolutely.
But I didn't know any better, and I'm in the mortgage industry. But at the time, I figured these were the guidelines. Then I went and read TARP and read the stimulus package and read the Dodd-Frank bill, and I realized that was not correct. Okay, so I said I made too much, I made too little, they kept losing my papers.
Yes.
I finally contacted the U.S. Senator here, who contacted Barbara Dozier, who was the president of B of A at the time. And after 36 certified letters back and forth, they actually told me that they couldn't modify me because they don't own my loan.
Oh.
That's when I started my investigation.
Exactly.
With help of others. Did a QWR letter, came back with a condo in Virginia for a condo rider, a note in Mississippi, and a mortgage in Illinois.
Right. Oh my goodness.
And that came from a law firm in Pennsylvania. Philadelphia. So then I sent back another letter and I asked to affirmative test that this information is correct. Then they sent me another law firm. The same law firm, different person.
Oh my goodness.
And again, same documents. So that went on for a long time. So anyway, so now I did a quiet title action on that, and I have a letter from John O'Brien, an affidavit from John O'Brien that my title's corrupted based on the fact that there's a robo-signer involved.
Right.
You can actually, I mean, they say Fannie Mae has my alleged loan, which I know they don't because I don't know where it is. It's probably in space.
They probably shredded it.
I had Marie McDonald do a report, and we don't know where it is. So anyway, so that I just filed that recently in New Jersey, and B of A was just served, and Fannie Mae was not served yet, but the sheriff has it. Okay, so now my one in Maine is even funnier. Okay, except that it's so serious. That's a very small loan, $55,000 loan.
Oh my goodness!
I had my second removed already because I did a quiet title action. I guess they didn't want to listen to me. Maybe it was part of the settlement. I don't know. So now I have a very small $55,000 loan. Again, everything was obtained, full documentation, not a problem. I want to change my 15-year to a 30. That's all I asked for.
Oh my goodness.
So I did my own modification based on the Dodd-Frank bill and my income. And then I made the payments, they sent them back. Made the payments, they sent them back. So I stopped paying. Fine. received, let's see, I started out in a QWR letter, and they gave me a lawyer in Maine. And I asked for the questions, I asked for information on the loan, got the assignment from the recorded office up there. The assignment is it's very easy to see that it's whited out, and they hand wrote it in.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it's really, I should send it to you. It's ridiculous, okay? It's dated 8 years after the loan closed.
Right.
Okay?
Exactly.
It's recorded 3 years after whatever, and nothing makes any sense. And the other thing I questioned, as I did work on Wall Street, no compliance, was the notary is in Florida. The person who signed is in Florida, and the notary is in California. So I did call the Secretaries of State for all the states involved, and it's a criminal charge in every state to not physically witness a signature.
Right.
So I filed complaints with all of them. Okay, so then after very nice lawyer, I went up there to see my alleged note and mortgage in Maine, very nice man, and then I came back and I asked him to affirmative test that there is no fraud. Then they sent me to a law firm in New Hampshire. And then I asked them to affirmative test there's no fraud. Then I went back to another law firm in Maine. Then I asked them to affirmative test there's no fraud. Then I got a law firm in Rhode Island.
Oh my goodness.
This is for a $55,000 loan, okay? This is what we're paying for, this nonsense. We're paying these lawyers for this nonsense. Then I asked for, again, affirmative test, and I got another law firm in Maine. Now, then I got a law firm in North Carolina. And this guy actually told me that this was still, the judge is still ruling on whether or not to keep the case open, because they sent this big, great letter, how I have no standing and all this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, bringing the big guns. And the judge ruled last week that he wants to hear the case, but I have to bring in Bank of New York, who allegedly owns my trust. But I've spoken to them; they don't own my loan.
Right.
My loan is not in that trust. I've called the law firm of Sidley Austin, who monitors the trust, the agents. I've called the chairman of Bank of New York. I've called the head of the trust department, SEC. I read through the entire pool servicing agreement. The minimum loan amount is $147,000 in that trust on a 15-year fixed.
Right.
My original loan amount was $76,000.
Right. And so everything is wrong, and you can't get
anything. It's a joke. It's really disgusting that they're allowing this stuff to go through in some states, and I just don't understand it.
Well, I don't either. And this is why I am completely outraged and in tears, because I know they have been doing this to everybody we saw on the videos today. Everybody in the country is getting ruined and cheated. And we just saw yesterday how many people that are not even in foreclosure are getting cheated, and with the clouded titles, and with the banks want the rules to change so that they can just get paid no matter what. They don't even have to worry about that own the note kind of stuff anymore. And it's just truly outrageous. It is truly just a mushrooming cloud of fraud that it seems impossible to get our elected officials and our courts to face. So where are you right now then? What's next?
Well, we do have Elizabeth Warren, and we do have Judge Shack.
Exactly.
Shack's rulings have been unbelievable.
I know. I love Judge Shack.
You get him on the phone. Have you gotten him on the phone?
No, I haven't. But, I have been put in contact with someone working very closely with him, and we hope to have that for everybody next week. And I haven't even talked about Judge Shack. I remember a ruling, but I think it was last year, maybe October, November. He was talking about the zombies. The zombie companies.
That was the IndyMac FSB Bank versus Mizell.
Yes, thank you. I can't remember.
I read it
in
detail.
Oh, it's fabulous.
I have and all that here, because I'm an expert witness as well, just so you know.
Oh, that's
excellent. And it was a hoot.
Exactly.
Hysterical. I mean, and he spoke before the Congressional Committee about the same thing, and he's also questioning, how can a notary be in one state? If someone's in Minnesota, why are they going to Wisconsin to have something notarized?
Exactly. And here's the point. And here's what you just say. He's testified in front of the Senate committee. But what difference did that make? Did that make any difference? Are we getting anything?
It does. But don't forget, now we have Elizabeth Warren. And I really think she'll do wonders, because I did meet Cordray in New York at a fundraiser. He's a really good guy. He's like a male version of me, because he really wants to do the right thing. Okay? And she is I guess they're in the same category. I know that a friend of mine went to law school with her. She was first in her class at Rutgers. She's brilliant. She's honest. She's ethical. She's
Absolutely.
nice. She had nothing bad to say about her.
Absolutely. I totally agree, and I have right up on the screen right now.
She was supported by the people,
Exactly.
not the big banks, because I think she ran against what? Scott Brown? Was that the one she ran against?
I don't remember, but the fact of the matter is she's willing to grill these people on their seats and say, how much fraud is it going to take before you shut the bank down? And they'd have no answers.
And have no answer about anything.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really
And see,
amazing.
and Grayson.
I was threatened by a Chicago law firm because I stopped a foreclosure 2 days before the steps with my certification, because this lawyer was claiming that he was representing the bank. He signed the foreclosure. He signed the assignment. He tried to change his middle initial, and just out of control. And also, another thing people can ask for, if you do get into this, is you can ask for a copy of the notary log.
Yes, we've been doing that, the journal entries. Ask for the journal entry for that signature, the signer, to see if it matches. And people are starting to send in their journal logs and their notary oath bonds, because that's how we're getting the signatures for the notaries. And some of the signatures are fraudulent. I mean, they're just obviously different. Other times the notary signatures are the same, but they are notarizing robo-signers, people with obviously different signatures on the same name. And that has got to have meaning.
Well, see, in some states, like in New York and Massachusetts, I believe they have a problem with attorneys. Attorneys will not even affirm an attest that there's no fraud, because they don't know that there isn't, and they refuse to sign because they're doing something in those states. In New Jersey, the judges actually say, "Don't worry, change the documents and come back."
Well, okay.
Someone running for governor, because it's got to be exposed. It's got to be.
Wait a minute.
This is our governor. People think he's so wonderful.
Wait a minute, Marilyn.
He's not doing a thing.
Wait. Say that again. Are you telling me that the judges in court are telling the bank attorneys that this paperwork is fraudulent, so go fix it?
When the defense lawyer says there's no standing and these documents are fraudulent, the judges are saying change them and come back. Yes, I've had friends in court telling me this. Yes. And our governor, see, people around the country think our governor is so wonderful, but I know his history. His wife worked for Goldman, his brother works for Goldman, or worked for Goldman, and he's protecting the banks. He's doing absolutely nothing. He took the money from the settlement, the AG settlement, used it for his budget.
Right.
To help people in foreclosure.
Right. Yes.
So, they really need to see that even the Jersey residents don't understand what's happening. It has to be exposed. They think if you can't pay your mortgage, or you're not paying your mortgage, you're a bad person and you deserve to lose your house.
Right.
They don't know that I have clients who were paying their mortgage who still couldn't get a modification because the banks had no standing to modify.
Oh, well, absolutely. And
that's why they're doing quiet title actions as well.
And not only that, all the millions and millions of people that were told, like you, that to get a loan modification you have to be in default. So they lie to you.
Yeah, I had credit cards at 134% APR.
Oh my goodness.
Could you pay that? You can't.
Yes, exactly. And so they lie to you, saying you have to be in default to get a loan modification. And then, of course, as soon as you default, they're going to foreclose.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So you're.
I have one woman. I've been since '07. I mean, the thing is, they're doing nothing even about the fraudulent loans that these people took.
Right.
That's another problem. I mean, when I was on TV in '07. I had 100 people a month coming to me with these loans that I never would have given them. They never should have had.
Exactly. They were all predatory. They were all toxic. They were all designed to fail. It was a whole scheme. It's a scheme to ruin the people, force them into foreclosure so they could take the houses and have all the money. That's sort of the summation of my little foreclosure town halls, if you want to summarize it in 25 words or less.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
There was something I read the other day by, I guess it was the Living Lies person, Neil Garfield. He explains it pretty well. It's pretty good. And you know about Copper, right? I met Copper through one of your seminars, one of your calls. He was on the same call as John O'Brien that time?
Yes.
He's very good because he says, and I just told this gubernatorial candidate in Jersey to call him, Copper says that the reason they're foreclosing is and pushing the foreclosures is they can cover up the fraud.
Absolutely, absolutely, because
that's amazing.
But however, I beg to differ. I swear, they think because they've got Bernanke putting out now $85 billion a month with no end in sight to buy mortgage-backed securities, to sweep the fraud under the rug, and to basically pay off all of those investors that got lied to get the banks off the hook, and so it doesn't blow up the banks. And the fact of the matter is, this is the double-edged sword that I see, and this is another reason I push for looking for the fraud on the recorded documents, because once they've recorded those documents, that's the double-edged sword. They've used them to take the houses, but the fact is the people that lost their homes are starting to contact me, and they're saying, how exactly does that work? If I find fraud on my documents, can I go get my house back? And that is going to be the revolution I'm pushing next. Because those documents are still there.
I'm going to a quiet title seminar next week, the 30th, in New York.
Yes.
And there's a few New York attorneys speaking, and I want to find out if someone actually, because I have a client here who has a perfect mortgage history, but now there's a new program to cover unlimited values underwater, which means in the mortgage industry your value is less than what your mortgage is.
Right, upside down.
And not flooded, just so you know.
Yeah.
And his house is very, like $200,000 under.
Right.
And there's a new program out that you can actually have an unlimited loan to value to refinance. He fits the guidelines, but he doesn't want to.
Right.
But he wants to go through his quiet title action.
Exactly.
And I'm waiting for an investigation to be done from another end. And my question is, if it turns out that he does the refi and then we find out there is fraud on the current loan he has now, can we still go in? That's what I need to know from these people at the seminar next week. Do you know the answer to that?
Well, I'll tell you what I've been told. And that is, I've been told a couple of things. One is that if you sign new loan documents, now here's the point. If those documents are just what I have on my website as HAMP docs, you know, that some lady went to NACA and got a HAMP loan mod, and then a year later she sends them to me and says, did I do the right thing? And so I've used that as the example. It's on the website, how they divided the principal up into a performing principal and a non-performing principal. And again, if that was the loan document with that the interest rate schedule, and an item number L where you have to subject yourself again to MERS, unless that is actually recorded somehow, I don't even know if it's really valid. I'm confident that entity, whoever it was, I don't remember her bank right now, whoever it was, did not have title. They did not have the authority to do that. I'm confident of that. So, however, she had, I think they had been in default. And again, I'm not sure about that, but I think so. And so, you know, the 60-day default, when the credit default swap or the Fannie Freddie FDIC insurance pays off those mortgage-backed securities in those trusts, then that loan falls out. So there is no more payments really on that loan. So I believe this is just utter theft. I've been calling it insurance fraud. The fact is, if you sign that, are you now participating in stolen property? Could investors in the mortgage-backed security now see some of those judges have been allowing these lawsuits to proceed against the banks for lying to them about the quality of the loans in these mortgage-backed securities? What if they were to actually extend that and could extend that into going back to the actual properties they were supposed to be loans on and took the collateral? Can they do that? I don't know. What I've been told months ago from a really smart attorney is pretty much no matter what, if you sign a loan modification, you need to go in and do a quiet title action. Because the fact is, if that bank, like on your qualified written request, you just said it right here, you get an owner from some place, they claim, you know, some New York trust is the owner, and then you contact that New York trust and they're saying, I'm not the owner. And so you have these banks and trustees of these mortgage-backed securities fighting each other. And we also know that most of these, many of them, were endorsed in blank, which means they turned these notes into bearer bonds, which means that the only person that theoretically has the right to foreclose is the one holding that actual note. We have no way of knowing, and we're confident they probably did make copies of those and put the entire amounts or pieces of all of these proper loans into many, many, many mortgage-backed securities. So we have no way of knowing exactly who thinks they own that loan. And like in your case, who else in this planet, which other central bank, Bank of India, which bank is going to think they have claim to your property now too? And you don't even know about that.
I vote on I make a gamble on Bank of China.
Well, yeah.
I think the Chinese own most of our real estate.
Yeah. So here's
personally.
Yeah. So here's the point.
This could be a big Ponzi scheme just to pay it back somehow. I don't know. I don't know what's going on right now. One word of advice though on people who are thinking of filing bankruptcy: push your attorney to get a proof of standing from all your creditors and your lien holders on your mortgages.
Right. If you can find an attorney that will do that. And I tell you,
you really need to push, because
absolutely.
I know people who have had one debt become 4 or 5 debts because they sold it off so many times, and it's really listed on your credit as 4 or 5 times.
Oh my goodness!
It's one lien.
Oh my goodness!
Oh yeah, it's a total mess. Like they're selling off mortgages multiple times. They're selling off credit cards too, and credit union loans and everything.
Yeah, we know what they're doing is securitizing everything. They're securitizing student debt, obviously credit cards, car loans, anything. Why? Because they make such a killing doing it. Sorry for the pun on the play on that word. Yeah, they're killing us, and they're making gobs and gobs and gobs of money because they sell the entire stream of payments over the life of that loan, and they call that the value, and so then they get commissions on those. It was never even their money to begin with. It's truly become an utter nightmare, and at this point, I think a lot of people that are paying attention are rightfully very concerned.
Well, here's another thing. We went down to the Assembly Finance Committee meeting, and they were talking about the money that Christie had and wasn't using for homeowners. And after that meeting, I met with the head of that section. And he's a really good guy who worked in the bond industry, really knows what he's doing. He's one of the Assembly people in New Jersey. And he said that Christie's not going to do anything, and the AG's not going to do anything, because in Jersey they're appointed AGs, just so you know, not elected like some states.
Okay.
And he said the best thing you can do is get these cases into court. And when they start seeing, bombardment of cases coming into the courtroom, whether it's QWR violation letters, court claims, or quiet title actions, the judges are going to have to do something.
Now, here's a question.
There's a problem.
Here's a question I have for you, Marilyn. In California, to file a quiet title action, most of the time, there is an exception, but most of the time, a person has to either have a bond or completely pay off the loan to file the quiet title action, which has kept a lot of that activity, under wraps. People can't. Is that the same in New Jersey, or are you allowed?
Well, it's interesting. I sent this to a friend of mine who's a judge, and I also contacted my title company to ask for a copy of the quiet title in New Jersey, and also bankruptcy laws in New Jersey, because I'm hearing so many different stories. People think if they file bankruptcy, their mortgage is extinguished.
Oh, I know. They don't understand.
So I wanted to read through that, and I sent it up to my judge friend, and he said there's something called quia timid in New Jersey. And what that is it's better than quiet title, because if you fear your title is corrupted, you can actually sue on that, which is what I amended my complaint to add that into it.
How do you spell that?
QUIA.
Yes.
TIMET.
ET. So if you fear the title is corrupted.
Yes.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
And I got an affidavit from John O'Brien that my Jersey title is corrupted. So I want to see how the judges handle it. I'm like the little scapegoat here, doing this. I did purchase the template from John Stewart.
You're a lead dog, is what you are. You're out there pushing the envelope, and this is what it takes. We push on every front we can possibly think of, and we so thank you for taking on this battle, because Here it is, over $55,000, and all you wanted was to change the
Legal
years.
fees, and the thing that really troubles me is we bail these banks out.
Yes.
We have these litigation costs are outrageous.
Absolutely.
And it's absolutely ridiculous to me that they're allowing this to continue.
Well, and the fact...
You know, people are arguing and fighting because they're right.
Exactly. And having their homes stolen. I know. And like that lady who's interrupting Wells Fargo, she says, I qualify for the loan mod. Why aren't you giving me a loan mod? And they just want to get security, get it out of there.
I went to the expo in Jersey with a friend of mine who was also a client, now she's a friend, with Wells Fargo. And I saw that the person who signed her assignment...
Yes.
Really, he was a vice president. I Googled him, found that he was a vice president, AV, and AT, assistant secretary, assistant treasurer. I called Wells Fargo. He's a clerk in the loan department.
Of course he is. And they just
assign...
assign...
the chairman.
Yes.
We actually went to this seminar, and the woman says, we have to check with the investors before we can modify your loan. I said, who are the investors? She goes, I don't know.
But we have to check with them.
She got a foreclosure notice, which I actually answered. Okay, based on the template I have and based on other things I know.
Right.
And, you know, she sent it in, and I typed it up for her. I gave her the template, I typed it up for her.
Right.
And asking all the questions on the PSA, et cetera, and they don't answer anything. I sent out over 100 letters to banks, questioning the pool servicing agreement, the note going in and out, the tracking, receipt, everything. I've not received one response. Not one.
Right. Right.
I'll tell you.
And see, this is this classic, they're just going to shut you out, not answer, just keep foreclosing until we somehow are able to stop them. And that's one of the reasons I've been saying, let's find all the fraud and forgery on our documents, and then let's just plaster the planet with it. Let's send it out to every news station, every media, all of our local officials, because I do believe it's a combination of most people don't really understand it. Most don't, and it's complicated, and so they don't really want to take the time to learn either. It doesn't affect them directly, they think, mistakenly, and so they want to just ignore it. They also have, it's been really easy to buy into the media myth that I swear is fostered by the banks, that everybody in foreclosure is just deadbeat. And the fact is, they're not. And my husband keeps pointing out one of the major reasons so many people can't pay their loans is because by this crisis with these toxic loans, and then just foreclosing thousands, millions of them, and dumping them on the market and ruining our real estate equity, they've ruined our economy. And so when all the retailing has fallen, that just crushes the middle class. If your business, most small businesses is in what I would class as the middle class. So I hear this all the time. You know, we watch Restaurant Impossible, for Pete's sake, and time after time after time. Every one of these people, they got slapped sideways because the economy fell. And once they're slapped sideways, they've lost that revenue, and now when you're down, it's very difficult to get up. It's impossible. They can't even get a loan now to get their business back on ground, because the banks aren't making commercial loans. They're telling people to go use a credit card.
So it's a mess.
It's a
One
mess.
other thing I forgot to tell you. After Judge Shack's ruling, one of my attorneys recommended this gentleman to me. He has several properties, really nice guy. But he has a foreclosure on one. Okay? And he asked me to help him look at the papers. He has an IndyMac loan. It was the same thing as what Judge Shack ruled on, the vampire, Dracula Rising from the Dead.
Right. Right.
They actually assigned it to One West after IndyMac was no longer.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I gave it to his attorney. I gave him a certification to his attorney. And that's going up to trial in April. I want to see how the judge rules on that.
Now here's a question. Here's a question, and maybe you know this, Marilyn, because this has really troubled me, and I have not had time to figure it out. So maybe you can help. And that is, is there a spot we can go to find out what dates these entities ceased to exist? Like in that lawsuit, they talked about a specific date, and they mentioned it, whatever it was, and that it was 23 days later or whatever when that assignment was done. You know, when the dead corporate entity rose up from the dead and signed some assignment. How do we find out like Countrywide Home Loans, how do we find out?
That was July 1st, 2008.
Well, how do you know that? How did you find that out?
The
Do you just know
interesting
that
thing
one?
is all of my loans were Countrywide. That's what's interesting. But if you look at their annual report, and I told someone else, you can find out pretty much everything you want to know about a company in their annual report. In Countrywide's annual report between 2003 and 2007, that's the last year I read, they actually said that they sold off most of their loans in pieces, very rarely whole loans. And so there's a very good chance, 95% chance, I would believe, that these loans are not together. The note and mortgage are not together anywhere.
Absolutely. And in fact, next week I've lined up already some information from testimony in video where the attorney representing the bank, I don't remember which bank, it doesn't really matter, is explaining to this appeals court how if it's MERS, definitely the mortgage is this and the note is that. It's always split. That's how it works, and she can't even really connect with the judges because the judges are thinking of how it used to work. And
I don't get it. That's the problem. The judges really don't get it.
Well, and they're looking at these people thinking to themselves, huh? What are you talking about? And like the testimony in the Oregon Supreme Court where they're reviewing an appeal again against MERS. It was the lower court had favored the owner, and then of course the MERS had appealed, so now we're in appeals court. And so they're putting the MERS representative on the hot seat by saying we have to file these assignments, and he says no, they're transfers. And so these, I swear, and Alvy said this yesterday, so many of the people involved now in the title companies, in the attorneys, this is how it's worked. These schemers started back so long ago in 1992, and then in 2000. I mean, that's 13 years ago now. So many of the people brought into the industry don't know any different. They don't know what it used to be like. And that's how we're losing it. Because the people that know how it used to be, they're gone. And the people that are just buying hook, line, and sinker into this, we don't need to have the note. Come on. Just forget us. We're a major bank, and of course we do no wrong. And so just let us do what we want to do. A lot of people don't understand that is just outrageous and illegal. So,
I think it's outrageous and illegal that some of these people got loans they never should have had, making $40,000 a year and getting $500,000 mortgage, no income, no asset, at a 13.5% second and 10.5% first.
Oh, absolutely, and truly, it was fraudulent inducement. They lied.
And nothing happened to these people.
Well, they lied to those people.
Patients should be lifted because there is something called equitable tolling that I found out from Mark Mellon at the FDIC. But Jersey won't use it. In other words, there's a 3-year statute on fraud.
Yes.
But especially on Vespas. But if you uncover the fraud, the statute goes away. So once you uncover the fraud, that's when it starts to toll again. But Jersey doesn't care. They're using this thing called Rooker-Feldman against everything we try to do, which is really bad. Like I had a client, we're still in court since 2007. Never received their closing documents from 2005. Asked the judge for them in 2010. That's when we received them. They were all fraud.
And were they?
They illegally foreclosed on her house.
Of course.
They're living in her house.
Of course. And it's
We
true.
foreclosed on it.
Exactly. And see, this is the problem. The people were lied to then. They're lied to now, and they're going to be lied to in the future. That is the point. Lying and fraud is a business model, and when you are a business in an industry and you win, you are allowed to continue to use fraud, then that pushes all honest business out because they can't compete.
Mm-hmm.
Fraud makes way too much money. So basically the banks just flooded the market with all of these fraudulent lenders, many of them wholly owned subsidiaries, we come to find out. And they used them to lie and fraudulently induce people into loans that they knew would fail. That was the point. That's why they said it doesn't matter how much you borrow, your payment's $1,500 a month, whatever the number. And I'm fond of explaining, in California in 2004 you could get $400,000 a month for $1,500 a month, and $400,000 loan. And then in 2005 it was a $500,000 loan. In 2006 it was $600,000, and the payment always stayed the same. Why? Because it was fraudulent. It was stupid, and all it did, it did its purpose. It served the purpose. It ballooned the prices far beyond our control. We can't give these people these loans. The banks had to give these people these loans. And they knew what they were doing, and they made gobs and gobs of money off of it. It was never their money in the first place, as we've already talked about. And so now, somehow, the people are to blame. I'm sorry. I'm really upset and outraged. And what we have to do is fix it. So you're in quiet title, and you're involved in how many now in helping others and your own? Several cases, right?
Well, I have a quiet title I'm working on. But my lawyer, I'm going to that seminar, and I'm going to have the lawyer take care of doing it. This person pays on time. But see, I really think that what we need to really do, once we have one lawyer in New Jersey or any other state, either sanctioned, disbarred, or indicted for fraud, the whole industry is going to change.
Well, absolutely.
The lawyer is going to want to put his name on a fraudulent document.
Well, and
he could lose his license, be in jail, or pay loads of money in fines.
Exactly. And see,
this has to happen. We have to push the courts.
Exactly.
Do the right thing, and they're not.
Now, one of the things we're pushing here,
but some they're not.
I don't know if you have this in New Jersey. In California, they just passed a law, and it's the statewide grand jury to look into issues like this that affect everybody in the state. And that's the task that I did just 2 weeks ago now, week and a half. And analyzed 18 foreclosures for Recon Trust, and itemized all the different fraudulent and fake and issues that I found, suspicious issues that I found with those properties, and I sent them to the Attorney General's office in hopes of instigating a grand jury and getting an injunction against Recon Trust, stopping them down. Stopping all of them if we could. And the point is, you're absolutely right. Until they will criminally charge somebody other than the homeowner for, staying in the property too long or something, it's like they can always find problems with the people. But until they actually charge criminally these people that are the perpetrators, it will continue. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just like we saw, and you commented. Now, Judge Shack, you said, testified. Did that make any difference in the Senate?
It was the congressional hearing. It was the Congress. I think it was the congressional, not the Senate.
Okay, so did that make any difference, or what was that about?
I think it was only in March of 2012, and you know how quickly they move.
Well, that may have been in response to the U.S. District Court consent judgment. See, and I look through these histories, and that's one thing I threatened to do this week on my website. I'll work on it. And that is to have a page, and it's a timeline, and the timeline of fraud, because I now have in my possession, in 2008, in 2007, remember we talked about that yesterday with Alvy, they have the testimony of the Judicial Task Force. In other words, how are we going to forge this foreclosure paperwork is the point. And they discussed that. We have that testimony. That's 2007. And then in 2008, we have the patent for the foreclosure document creation. And then in 2010, we have the patent for the loan documentation creation electronically, where they actually state that they securitized denied loan applications. That is completely mind-boggling to me. I mean, it is just outrageous. And then in 2011, you see, we have the OCC cease and desist orders. Obviously, in court, things were coming out. You're robo-signing, just what Marilyn's been sharing with us. You have a notary in one state and you have the signer in another state. Give me a break. And so they told them to cease and desist, and they are supposed to have complete and accurate documents to foreclose. And the banks all signed off and said, sure, yep, right on. And then, of course, they kept forging everything because they have to. And so then in 2012, this is in March 2012, or April 4, and so maybe that was Judge Shack's testimony at the hearing for whatever so then the U.S. District Court comes down with a consent judgment saying you cease and desist, and every foreclosure document must be supported by accurate and complete and reliable evidence. And that phrase was copied in California's Homeowner Bill of Rights. And that basically, I believe, is our standing. The people have a right to require the complete and accurate documents. Now, how to get them to do it, and how to get that to stand up in court, that's the biggest question. And that's what you're working on, basically.
Yeah, I mean, because I had a situation with this other client who wanted to refinance. They wouldn't let him refinance. The guy was underwater. And when I called the AG's office to find out information on what to do the QWR letter, it took me 3 weeks to actually file the QWR complaint for him. Because his wife's a paralegal, so he was able to do it. But they had a baby, and I took it down to the court.
Right.
Then. Okay? And they actually spent 3 weeks trying to figure out what it was.
The court?
Your complaint where you're entitled to the $2,000. And then they sent it down to where the defendant's located. I said, no, I think it goes where the property's located. And then the judge ruled against it, saying you didn't suffer any damages. So we did a motion for reconsideration because the judge doesn't get it.
See.
So it's been filed at the state, obviously. And the thing is, if it's a legislative law, so therefore it should apply.
Right. Right.
And after he sent out like 3 letters over a 9-month period. They didn't respond. So there's a $2,000 fine plus court costs.
Right.
And reasonable legal fees, but he didn't have a lawyer.
Right.
So we sent down a motion for reconsideration last week. Let's see what happens with that.
Right. Right. It literally, yeah. And educating the public has always been a thankless task. It's always lots more effort than it feels like it's supposed to take. And yet, in the end, this is what we must do. And we just are so pleased and proud, Marilyn, that you're standing up with us and that you're sharing with us and you're over there in New Jersey fighting. And so you're running for governor. Is that the point?
No. This person I would love to run for governor, but no, I don't have enough hours in the day. They wanted me to run for U.S. Senate last year, but I was in the middle of something else and I couldn't get enough signatures. But somebody bailed out at the last minute. But that was pretty funny. I could see me doing that. That would be. They think Christie's bad. I mean, I don't like any of them. I don't like any politician at this juncture.
Well, and see, the people don't either.
Elizabeth Warren.
That's right, and that's why the politicians have quickly learned that they just forget the people. Mm-hmm. Because the people have been basically focused on trying to survive, trying to keep their house, trying to figure out how they're going to eat their next meal as the economy has been ruined. And so we're so busy, heads down, that they're just run off. It's just, the banks have just taken them lock, stock, and barrel. So trying to educate our judges and insisting that we do, and getting judges to speak out. I really will contact Judge Shack, and hopefully he'll get on the show and really help us understand that we're not completely alone. And then maybe there's some way, because if one judge or a few judges stand up and say, this stuff is nonsense and this is an outrage and I'm against it, I'm against the banks and I'm against all the fraud that they're doing, then that would allow other judges, first off, to hear it, secondly, to rethink what is actually happening. Because I swear a lot of this work that they do in court is just the standard process. Next.
In Jersey, I looked at the website. There were like 15 cases against Bank of America, all dismissed.
Yes. Dismiss one, dismiss them all. I mean, how could he not? And that's another issue. I've heard this in the judges talking to the plaintiff's attorney, the person, and they're saying to him, because the attorney says, the owner is Fannie Mae, or it's a Fannie Mae loan, or something like that, and immediately the judges, one of them says, "Oh, there's millions of those around the country," and you can just hear the wheels go. Oh, I don't think I want to make a judgment on that. See, because the judges have their own career and lives and issues and feedback and a place where they are playing. And so as we can understand that and give them an opportunity to stand up for a specific case. So this attorney was real smart and quickly clarified how, well, this wouldn't necessarily apply to all of them. It applies to this because of this specific situation. In other words, don't worry about the fact that you might be setting a precedent for 1 million loans around the country and for everybody to get their house back in fraudulent foreclosure. Let's focus on the issue at hand. And that's obviously a humongous problem, and I believe perhaps why we see what we see from the judges so often, because we see it around the country.
The biggest donors to the Republicans in 2009, I think the last numbers I have are 2010, I think it was 69% of all donations came from Wall Street and the financial industry, and right. 62% to the Democrats. So what does that tell you?
Well, it tells me what I keep saying, and that is, it really doesn't matter if it's a D or an R, or an I or a P.
I call them the Dem reps.
What matters is, are they for the people or are they for the banks? And if they're for
the people before they get in,
yeah,
switch over to the banks.
Exactly. And a lot of these, like wolf in sheep's clothing. Oh, I'm going to be for the people, and then as soon as they get elected, off goes the sheep's
I don't think Elizabeth Warren will, because when she spoke to the SEC, did you see that? She spoke to the SEC a few weeks ago?
Oh, yes, I did. Oh, yes, we played it.
That's how many lawsuits have they
That's right.
taken to trial? None of them?
That's right. And what would it take to take them to trial? And just dead silence. I
think she's going to be very, very good. I really do.
Well, and I've put up on the screen again, these are the people that we have recognized during the live stream shows of things that they've done. Like Alan Grayson has gone up against the Federal Reserve all alone with his panel from the Federal Reserve, and he only gets like 5 minutes, which is insane, and then he demands that they do an accounting of that $9 trillion. Okay, where did the $9 trillion go? And they have the gall to stand there and say, oh, we don't know. And they get away with it. And that is what's completely outrageous. And so these are people that really do support us. So let's connect with them. I'm encouraging everybody to connect with these people as much as possible. Let's support their efforts. Let's work with them. Let's let them know we're on their side. Let's try to get them into our coalition. We need a coalition somehow. Anyway, these are just
doing a great job.
Well, I'm trying, and
really
I can't do it without everybody else, because I can live stream all day, and if nobody is willing to share and be lead dogs and push these actions around the country, what good is it? We need each other.
One word of advice I want to tell people, whoever you could talk to in New Jersey or any other state, if you get a notice, because New Jersey is a judicial state, if you get a notice of foreclosure, answer it, because that's one of the problems. If they're not answering it, they don't really have a leg to stand on.
Right.
If they do answer it,
right.
And if they want, I can send them a template, and they can answer themselves as long as they respond to something.
Oh, that would be fabulous.
Deny it and go back to the questions and all that.
Oh, Marilyn,
that's the way we're going to fight it.
Okay, so this template now is specifically for mortgage states, right? Not deeds of trust state, but mortgage state, judicial mortgage states.
Yeah, well, some states you don't need a judge to decide on a foreclosure.
Yeah, like the deed of trust, like the non-judicial. Poof, they just take it. But would you mind if you send that template to me? I will upload it, and I will include that for these mortgage states, so that with your guidance, so that people can have a tool. They need to know what to do and where to do it, and most people have enough understanding that they can follow a set of instructions, and they just want to know that this is going to, maybe help. And we'd really appreciate any help and support you can give to the nation for that.
All right, if anyone calls in New Jersey and they want me to look at an assignment of mortgage, or they have a foreclosure, the thing they need to do is go to the county. Now, some counties are online in Jersey, some are not.
Right.
Essex is not.
Right.
And get an assignment of any assignments of mortgages in those files. You're probably going to see one as soon as they were in trouble. They started doctoring it up.
Exactly.
But send it to me so I can look at the assignment, do a certification, which they can attach to their answer to the foreclosure.
Excellent. And I want to just remind everybody, basically go to strategy number 4. It's analyzing your recorded documents. It's on my foreclosure defense page. And that, you just skip deeds of trust because you've got a mortgage instead of deed of trust. And forget trustee substitutions because mortgage states won't have that. But the assignments are exactly the same. So skip the trustee substitution, who cares? Substitute mortgage in your thinking for the deed of trust because it just says mortgage at the top. The terms are basically the same. And then go get your assignments. Follow the instructions on the assignments. And then Marilyn's already told you that she'll look at them. Oh boy, Marilyn, do you know what you're doing?
Right. all the states,
Exactly.
What's the big issue here? That's the only thing that really is going to win it is the fraud, I think.
And when they have a fraudulent, forged assignment on any property in the country, whether it's a mortgage state or a deed of trust state, that is the crux of the matter. And you can take that now as we figure out how. And we're all trying these techniques to actually, that proves they do not have accurate and complete documentation to file that foreclosure. It is a forgery. It's a fraud closure. That's why I call them fraud closures. And those assignments are still sitting on people's properties that lost their home to foreclosure. You can go get that assignment no matter when you lost your home. And if that assignment is fraudulent, that foreclosure is fraudulent and is void. That is the law in all the states. Maybe a different statute, but that is the general essence of fraud closure. And I am trying to wake up the 4 million people, those American winter people that already lost their homes to fraud closure. We already know they did. It was already fraudulent because they don't have the rights to the loan. They don't own the note. They lie in front of judges and they will fake the documents and hope to get away with it. But basically, because they don't own the note, it was never their money and they are not the holder in due course. They have to forge the foreclosure documents. And if we can wake up the millions of people that lost the homes and tap into that righteous anger, we can get our coalition. That's my little ending for the week. Thank you so much, Marilyn, for joining us. I really appreciate it. Okay.
Thanks very much for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you for what you're doing. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. May we all support each other. This is CJ signing off. See you next week.
I was proud of me class, like my father and mother before me.
They taught me to fight for my civil rights,
But it's always the same old story.
the rich reign supreme while the poor can but dream.
And the Labour or Liberal or Tory. And I say, bugger the bankers and politicians, bugger the bureaucrats too, bugger the buggers who make up the rules. And if you're one of them, bugger you. And if you're one of them, bugger you.
The system is bent and the money's all spent. We're measured from every direction.
The workers get taxed while the wealthy relax. With nary a moment's reflection.
When it's brass, there's muck